respect, it's given and earned. It's like, what?
But can never be taken.
Yeah, I don't have anything to recommend. I'm like, playing on the drum too.
De Niro's Revenge.
Yeah, he's like, dude, you're talking shit. He's like, come down this alley. I got some coats for you.
Yeah,
I'm like,
back there.
Come on. He's like Edge. He's like,
Yeah.
Like, what? Big Kurt Russell fans. I'm sure people probably know that by now, especially after watching this episode. But I'm sure many more of his films will show up on this podcast.
Yep.
Through the years.
For a long time, I would say he was my favorite actor.
Do you have like a new favorite?
Nick
actor?
Cage has eclipsed him, but they're both great.
I don't know if I have a favorite actor anymore, honestly. I'm trying to think. Top 5 favorite actors.
You like Tim Matheson because he looks like Paul Rudd.
I'm like, even though I hate Paul Rudd. What? No, I don't hate Paul Rudd at
No
all.
one hates Paul Rudd.
That's true.
Hello.
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 Goodbye. Just kidding.
How's it going?
Pretty good, man. How are you?
Pretty good.
You got your hair all styled up for this podcast.
Back for another week.
Yeah, true. Last time we were...
Nothing happened since last time. I'm glad nothing happened.
We were in our secret buddy bunker. Definitely not a hotel room. Everybody got a permanent, a permanent view of my bald spot. So this week is your week.
Matt Week.
This is
which week?
86th episode.
Yeah.
Can't believe we made it this far.
Yeah.
I'm glad though. We're kicking ass.
Chewing bubblegum.
So Weird Watches is
The Quest.
nice, and feature presentation.
Bill. Steamboat Bill Jr. He got his name from his uncle Steamboat.
He's like, oh man.
Steamboat Bill Jr.
Yes.
Starring the legend.
Legend. Fuck, what's his name now? Buster Keaton.
Buster
right.
Keaton.
I was like, I don't know why the first thing I was like, Charlie Chaplin. It's like, nah. He'd fucking bust my ass. So, yeah. There's a... Did you look at any of these taglines or no?
For Steamboat?
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
I was shocked at... well, I wasn't shocked. I wasn't like, what?
You were like, whoa!
Yeah, I was like, oh my god. It's just, there was a lot of them, but I think it's probably... there's a lot of them probably back then because they would have to put them on like these big murals or like paint them and stuff. But like, yeah, there's like 10 of them. It's like ridiculous.
Any winners? Or any weird ones?
This one's not weird, it's just language of the era. Buster's gayest comedy opus, simply bursting with gals, guile, and gales of laughter.
Nice.
So it's kind of like Flintstones will have a gay old time.
Yeah. Someone put a little bit of time into that one.
Yeah. What a thrill, worth the price of admission alone, to see what happened to Buster when the Twister hit the town.
That's just like a statement.
Yeah. This one, fun. Fast and Furious runs riot on the Mississippi. It's like...
This is the prequel to Fast and Furious.
And then, of course, we have the ones that are, like, super long, that it's, like, just a synopsis.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. Yeah, I don't think that there's... the laugh special of the age. See it! It's like, okay. So...
Of the age?
Yeah.
Wow.
The Sheik of Muddy Waters? I don't understand that at all. Isn't the Sheik supposed to be like an oil baron or something, like in the Middle East?
That doesn't make any sense.
He's like, guys, I'm the... That's what they call me after Skyline. The Sheik of Muddy Waters.
Nice.
So, this is Matt Week, and as you can see, last week we were at the Buddy Bunker, but we were there. Matt was kind enough to take me to go see the Ringo All-Star Band.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't take me specifically. You were like, Mike, check it out. You'd never seen Ringo or any of the Beatles, right? In person. What'd you
were
think?
nice enough to go along with me to a lame concert, which wasn't lame. It was great.
No, it was awesome. Yeah, I guess that's what mainly I wanted to bring it up, because I wanted to know what you felt about it and what you thought of it, because you're probably like the one person I know that's like a huge, like if I could pan over, Matt's got all these like Beatles memorabilia he's got like all over the walls and stuff here. He's a huge fan. I think that came from like your parents were huge into Beatles and stuff. So I don't know, what was it like?
It was a bucket list moment to see a Beatle in real life.
Yeah.
I figured we were running out of chances, so might as well do it.
Yeah.
It was great. Yeah. He's a legend.
Yeah.
Like, everyone loves Ringo in the world.
He was like, it was nice to see it because it was also like, you got kind of like a greatest hits as well, because it wasn't just Beatles songs that he could sing.
Yeah, thankfully it wasn't just Ringo songs. That would have been torture.
It was like, here's a couple of ones. We've got like Down Under, Yellow Submarine, Cut the Cake, Frankenstein, Back Off Boogaloo, which a couple of these are like cool for the first couple of minutes, but then it's like, okay, this is just like an ongoing jam session. But then we had like Africa, Who Can It Be Now? Just like a lot of like classic stuff. I think
he brought along his all-star friends.
Yeah, dude, we pretty much like left a little bit early though, and like the only thing I think we really missed was like with a little help from my friends.
Yep.
So, which they do. Like, I looked on like the thing, and it looks like that used to be something they would do as like a encore, but they don't do an encore anymore, so they just include it as part of the set list. But it's a pretty strong set list, honestly, that you could make like a Rock Band game out of all these songs, honestly.
Yep, lots of classics. For sure.
Because it was people from Men at Work and
Toto and Edgar Winter.
Yeah, it was like legit.
Yeah.
And while we were on the road, we also watched The Deck of Cards. What do you think about that?
I mean, I think it's pretty much a lock for Oscar gold. Like, it's going to win all the Oscars this year.
This was like
best
their
movie ever.
On cinema like joke movie that ended up they made it was like a 40-minute actual movie or whatever. That's just an extended Decker takeover thing. But I don't know.
It was hilarious.
If you know what that even is, you'll probably have already watched this. If not, you're probably gonna be like, "What the fuck are they talking about?" But it was good stuff. It was
hilarious.
It was
as always.
It was a good cap to end off a delicious pizza night. So, those are the preambles. Do you have any tales, news, or recommendations?
I have a recommendation.
Okay.
I saw a movie called Bang the Drum Slowly.
I've heard of that before, but
It's from the early 70s. It stars Robert De Niro when he was really young.
Okay. Yeah.
And basically he's the catcher for the Yankees, but his character is like basically a dork. And like no, he's kind of like, I don't know, slow-witted or whatever, and no one really likes him on the team, and everyone kind of rags on him and makes fun of him. Except he has one friend on the team who always like sticks up for him and tries to include him and stuff. And at the beginning of the movie, him and his friend go to the Mayo Clinic, and Robert De Niro finds out basically he's dying. Like, he has a life-ending disease, and he's going to die like soon. Mm-hmm. So basically, there's not much to it, but over the course of the movie, like, his teammates start to find out like what's going on, and when they do, they actually like start treating him well and like building him up, and like he's loving it, like he's having a great time,
and he's like, I'm dead.
And then at the end of the movie, it's like his funeral.
Yeah.
And the final line is like his friend narrates and says, "He wasn't a bad fella, no worse than most, and probably better than some, and not a bad ball player neither. When they gave him a chance. From here on in, I rag nobody." And like, I thought that was such a great like message. Mm-hmm. It's like, you don't know what people are going through in their lives. Like, he was having, people have problems that you don't know about, and you might meet someone and think this person's horrible, but they're having the worst day of their life. So like, from here on in, I rag no one. I really liked it.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yep, good stuff.
When did you watch it? Like over this past week?
Yeah, it's one I'd heard about over the years, and I pretty much any Robert De Niro movie I'll watch, and he was great in it. His friend was played by Michael Moriarty, who, I don't know if you remember him, but he was the weird dad in Troll. You remember that? Dude. He did like that weird dance, like "Ain't no cure to the summertime blues." He's one of the weirdest actors out there, but he was good in it too. So
nice.
Yep, Really
That's
good.
legit. Yeah, I'll have to check it out. I don't watch too many movies outside the podcast. Every once in a while I will, but I spend like most of my entertainment time like not, I guess, playing games or watching shows or something. I don't know. We'll see. It sounds cool though.
Yeah, it's just it's interesting to see movies where there's not a whole lot of conflict, which I always like, and it's kind of like low stakes. It's just people like learning to basically treat someone with respect, even if you don't think they're that great, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was cool.
Respect. It's given and earned. It's like, what?
But can never be taken.
Yeah, I don't have anything to recommend. I'm like, playing on the drum too.
De Niro's Revenge.
Yeah, he's like, dude, you're talking shit. He's like, come down this alley. I got some coats for you.
Yeah,
I'm like,
back there.
Come on. He's like Edge. He's like,
yeah.
It's like, what? You ready to move on to weird watches?
Weird watches.
Nice. Okay, so I guess, what do you have to say about this?
What do you have to say for yourself?
No, I mean, like, how did you? I guess that kind of came off.
This was I was literally researching to try to find weird stuff.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll go through an actor that I like, their filmography, and see if there's any like series that they were in back in the
shows
day.
Or yeah.
And that's pretty much why I found this. I'd never heard of it before, but The Quest, a TV series from 1976 starring Kurt Russell.
Yeah.
Like right before a few years before he became famous in movies.
Yeah, he
so
did like a
still doing
lot
TV.
of like, what was it, like Disney stuff.
Yep.
Before he like.
I was like a child actor.
And then like he kind of like a teen heartthrob. He did like a freaking like The Strongest Man, like The Computer Wore Tennis Shoes, like all these ridiculous movies.
Follow Me, Boys. Have you ever seen that one?
I
That's one I've
haven't
actually
seen
seen. It's pretty good.
Follow Me, boys.
Yeah. What could go wrong?
So this is The Quest is not a like fucking medieval movie as the title would suggest. It's a Western series. Pretty much I think it came out to kind of come after and kind of be like, you know, other shows like Gunsmoke and like stuff like that. But
it wasn't meant to be because at this point, like Westerns weren't as popular as they had been, and the show kind of flopped.
Like this was when like I think Batman had already became a thing, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So it's like and Batman killed like not only the monsters but like the monsters.
Batman killed the monsters.
He killed the monsters and like Addams Family and Westerns because it was like holy shit, color.
Yeah. And also, I think I forget which show it was up against, but it was in like a bad time slot too. So
yeah, I read that like the pilot did really well, which is like essentially this movie. Mm-hmm. But then when it like went to like being just a show, it was like not super liked or not liked, but I mean it only lasted from September to December of '76, which is kind of like ridiculous. But it stars Kurt Russell and Tim Matheson. Which I thought he looked a lot like Paul Rudd, but I don't know. You never sent me a text back, so I don't know if you were delete this motherfucker.
I definitely can see that for sure.
I didn't think it was like I wasn't like, man, it's the same guy.
For me, he's like so ingrained as the lead in Animal House. Like I'll never be able to see him as anything else. Cause, like,
I actually have never seen that movie.
Really?
Through. Yeah, I've seen I think I've seen so many scenes of it. I've probably seen the whole film, but it's kind of like Caddyshack. I didn't
never actually sat down to watch
the whole. Because they played it on TV and
Tim Matheson, he's basically the straight man in that movie, but he's like the head of the cool frat, and he's basically like the coolest frat guy you could ever imagine. So.
Yeah. But two brothers, Morgan and Quentin Bodine, are seeking the whereabouts of their long lost sister Patricia, thought to be held by the Cheyenne. So like essentially like she's been taken captive, and like Kurt Russell is like somebody that was taken by the Native Americans, and they like named him two persons. I'm assuming that's like a play on like he's of two worlds, the Native Americans and like the I guess just other people, you know, who he's born to originally, and they thought that like I guess his brother was dead and he finds him, and then now they're looking for their sister. So that's essentially like the premise. It's a cool premise idea.
Oh, I agree. Totally.
But I think you can say that pretty much for every single one of these shows we've watched. It's like, oh, this is a pretty cool premise. Except for like the cartoons. But
so what'd you think of the show?
I thought it was perfectly fine.
Did you end up watching the whole thing?
I watched like most of it. Yeah. I kind of stopped watching it. I
missed a hell of an ending, dude.
Really?
Yeah.
I might go back to it, but I was just kind of like, it reminded me a lot of like other shows that we like I've seen a lot at home, like The Rifleman or Wagon Train, where it's like
I've never seen any.
It's a perfectly like good Western show.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe more so than most because it has Kurt Russell in it, but like, I think maybe because I had seen those other shows, like, I will say like there's a part where like Kurt Russell pulls out his like serious voice, and it's like you can definitely see like his later film acting in it, where he's just like pissed, where he takes the knife away from the guy and holds the dude at gunpoint, and he's like give me back my knife, and he's like, get the fuck out of here, I'm getting the sheriff. And I was just like, okay, holy shit.
He turns into Snake Plissken for
essentially it was like, okay, but you can tell that like there's something there for the future, you know. It's like, and this other guy, Tim Matheson, he's really good too. I mean, everybody in this was like, you know, I was never like, man, this is a fucking dog shit. Like, as far as acting goes, everybody was putting on their working shoes. So,
yeah, I thought it was like fine. I was hoping for maybe it to be a little bit more entertaining. It was a little bit. It was formulaic and kind of episodic. Like, it probably would have been better if it was chopped up into 3 different episodes as opposed to one movie.
Like a 3-part, like...
It just goes from, like, thing to thing to thing, and there's no really, like...
Right.
You know, it was episodic.
You could tell that, like, this was a couple episodes that they kind of just put together into a movie instead of, like, an actual movie that was, like, cut down to be something, like, a tight narrative. Like...
I was pretty shocked by the ending because, spoiler alert, you know the old dude who they're like is kind of guiding them on the quest?
Is it like the beginning guy that Kurt Russell talks to? I'm assuming he died because or something.
They hang his ass. Like some old rustler like finds him and he's like, well, time to hang you. And he's like...
Because he did something.
Yeah, he did something in the past and he just like pretty much was like, okay, you got me.
They do that sometimes on Wagon Train. They would like just hang a dude and I'd be like... Okay. And they're like, there's nothing that's like, sorry, it's frontier justice. Right. And I'm like, okay.
There you have it.
But like, like, I think for Westerns, that's really not shocking. But especially this day and age, it's like, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
And
we also got to see a real life death in this movie when that, like, wagon turned over and you could tell it totally wasn't supposed to happen, and that woman like bites the dust.
I
was like
when you sent me that clip,
R.I.P. dude,
I had to watch it and I was like, I can't wait till like I get to this part.
That was bad,
dude. Fucking Eric Estrada's in this.
So I missed. I didn't even notice him.
He was. I saw his name beginning as like the guy that was breaking in the horses for the one dude.
Okay,
but like.
As
soon as I
didn't put that
heard his voice, I was like, okay, Eric Estrada. Of course, he's in this because he was like huge in the 70s. So, the blacksmith is like walking around with no shirt on, beating ass. And I was just like, and he says, I can't believe what I just saw when the blacksmith beats the shit out of some guy. I was like, Kurt Russell just says it, but he says it like a robot. I was like, cool.
Yeah.
Kurt Russell on this like goes between being like speaking like a robot, like I think he thinks, or like they think what a Native American would, how they would speak. And
I didn't love that. To
being
be
just a person, like not a person, but being just like normal, like me and you would speak if we were, you know, were born like to the English language kind of thing. So it was kind of like. To me, I would have rather seen him speak more like Native American, because if he was like raised by them and his like up until recently, like, you know what I mean, and he still wears like their clothes and stuff, and he represents their heritage, I would have liked to see more of that. I mean, people can be like, oh, it's, appropriation. But I mean, if he was taken by them and raised as one of them, that's not really appropriation. That's like who his character is. I guess I would have, like I said, liked to have seen it more so him actually acting in that way rather than him just being like, I am Kurt Russell cosplaying as a Native American. And he wasn't doing anything ridiculous. He wasn't throwing up like chop signs and shit like that. It was like, I felt it was like respectful. He wasn't doing anything fucking ridiculous, but it was like, go all in with it or just make him not be Native American. I don't know. Just because like it would have added that extra bit of like intrigue and stuff. Because they call him two persons, but he seems to have no issue with like working with the white man. So it's kind of like, I don't know.
I'm with you on that one.
But nothing against Kurt Russell. I think that was maybe just how it was written. But it's like Briscoe County Jr. I feel like is a way better Western, and that's kind of like something that it was just kind of like a lot of that stuff in that was like jokey and sci-fi, and this is taken seriously, and it's kind of just like, it's not like flavorless, but it's also not like, super great. It's just kind of like,
that's kind of how I felt about it too.
Which is a shame.
Good enough.
But yeah, it didn't like offend me. But it didn't like, it didn't like add anything new. Like it had some ideas that were like really cool, but it just wasn't like followed up on enough to really, I guess, like we were saying. Do you think that Kurt Russell actually like killed a snake in this fucking thing? Since it was the 70s, I had a sad suspicion that that snake actually got killed.
Very possible.
There's like a part where they're taking a bath and he's like pulls a gun and fucking shoots this rattlesnake, and I'm like, pretty sure that shit was fucking a real snake. But like that one movie around the same time with fucking what's his name, the guy that played Kirk. He kills all those spiders.
William Shatner.
Yeah.
The Kingdom of the Spiders.
Yeah, it's like, so yeah.
Or that time when Jean-Claude Van Damme punched that snake in the face in Hard Target.
It's like AVGN style. It's like, why? Let me punch it in the fucking spot where
it'll bite me.
Fucking birds.
Call!
Fucking seagulls coming from my ass. But yeah, punch it in its fucking. That's like punching a gun in the muzzle. It's like, what? Anyway,
the business end, as they say.
True. So, do you have anything else to say about this?
Nope. I think we covered it well enough.
Yeah.
Not my finest choice, but it was worth.
It wasn't like last week when I picked fucking. I don't even know what I picked. I think I like
Monsterland.
I like fucking Men in Black myself. I completely forgot what the fuck happened last week.
It was worth forgetting.
So, the moral of the story is,
weird watches. They're out there. They're in the air.
Watch when Matt picks shit, and when I pick shit, you can just.
I think we both have had our fair share of hits and misses.
Shits and hisses. I turned into a
Beverly
snake.
Hills Bunts, anyone?
That at least was like funny in certain spots. It was more watchable than this.
Bunts week.
They were both super canceled, like ultra instantly.
That's what stuff I seek out.
Yeah. Well, some stuff that's been canceled actually, I felt like shouldn't have been canceled.
Yeah, Pachinski should have ran for 10 years.
I honestly feel like the idea of like My Mother the Car is a weird one, but they could have. It was just so stupidly formulaic. It was like. Anyway, are you ready to move on to the top?
Manimal should still be running to this day.
Those transitions killed it, man. It's like, holy shit. You ready to move on to top 5?
Let's do it.
What's the top 5 this week?
Top 5 Kurt Russell movies.
Nice. Okay. Well, it's Matt week. Do you want to go first or last?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Number 5, Death Proof.
Death Week. Nice, man.
I think I like that movie a lot more than you do. It's like
I've only seen it like one time.
We saw it in theaters, didn't we? Or no, I think we saw it on DVD.
Because you had to see that other one too.
Yeah,
I
that's
didn't
right.
really want to see either one of those. But you showed it to me, and I liked it.
Yeah, I think it was the first time he'd ever been like a villain.
Yeah.
But you don't really know he's a villain at first
until kind of like
a mysterious guy, and then he becomes like super scary, and then he becomes very laughable. He's like, I can't see anyone else doing this better than Kurt Russell. It's great.
Yeah.
And
this is totally a Tarantino directed this. Shocking.
And
I
think he's been in
with fucking people's feet in this movie, like Kurt Russell.
In every movie.
Well, Kurt Russell, not Tarantino. In every movie.
Where's my keys? There they are. But it's an awesome movie. I think from this point on, like, Kurt Russell's been in all of Tarantino's movies, which is very cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, Death Proof, classic.
Was he in Pulp Fiction? Or what you said from this point on? Okay, I was like, but was he in the earlier one? Like I said from this point, but what about this one? Let's go down his entire filmography. I printed off right here on a piece of paper. I'm like,
I pretty much could, because like, there's not a Kurt Russell movie that I don't like. Or is there? How about you?
Okay, so my number 5 is Tombstone.
Nice, that's great.
Tomb Week. Yeah, it's a classic.
It's awesome. Probably one of the most highly entertaining westerns of all time.
And it's also an example of Kurt Russell's mustache that he can't grow. One of my finest fuck ups.
He's awesome in this, but like Val Kilmer steals the show.
Yeah,
as Doc Holliday, it's like he steals that movie. But it's great.
Yeah,
I think everyone loves Tombstone. It's just awesome.
Especially The Undertaker. Because you will rest in peace.
Rest in pieces. Speaking of westerns, I had another Kurt Russell western. Bone Tomahawk.
Nice.
There's not too many, like, it's a horror western.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't get cooler than that. Starring Kurt Russell. Love it.
Yeah. I don't really have anything to add to that, unless you have anything.
Nope.
Add more unless you've been holding out.
See ya.
Or wait. Never mind.
You can watch it at the store.
My number 4 is Tango and Cash.
Dude, great choice. It's higher on my list. Nice. So good, man.
So who's on the front page?
Tango. No, Tango's on the front page.
And
Cash is on the back. Because there's multiple front page articles about
you would have
policemen.
A front page with Tango on it, but then on the very back of a paper you would have the second biggest article. Like you would put that on the second page, not the back page of the paper. So,
but Kurt Russell's like so good at playing comedic characters. Like, Cash is one of the all-time great characters.
Yeah, Tango and Cash. We haven't done that for the podcast, have we?
No.
I want to pick it up. I think we should watch it at one point because
everyone should watch it.
Talked about
it's one of the weirdest, stupidest, yet
I love
most
everybody
awesome
in
movies.
the movie.
Yeah.
So, it's one of those like action films that I just crack up watching, and it's highly entertaining. So,
I just can't believe how dumb it is.
Yeah.
I can't believe it got made. It's so crazy.
Yeah. So, number 4, Tango and Cash. What's your number 3?
Number 3, Breakdown.
Breakdown.
Have you seen Breakdown?
I don't think I've ever even heard of it.
It's from the 90s. Basically, he's just a normal guy.
A normal
cross-country trip.
A normal guy.
A normal guy.
Okay.
On a cross-country trip with his wife, and, like, they have a breakdown.
Oh, no, I have seen this fucking film, because I think you showed it to me, and, like somebody takes his wife or something, like kidnaps his wife, right? And he has to
his wife goes missing, and he has to find out. So it's a combination like mystery, action, adventure, and then like
that's right.
Revenge.
I'd be shocked if maybe there wasn't one I had heard of. Because I remember there was a long time when I would like come and visit you at like your co-op or whatever, and you would like
just
show
watch
me
Kurt Russell movies,
Kurt Russell films, or zombie films to try to fill the void of. At that point, George Romero only making 3 zombie films.
Yep.
So, yeah, man, that's a solid pick.
Yep.
I remember liking it. I actually forgot about it, though. Like, I'm glad you brought it back up.
Never forget.
Never forget. Breakdown.
But it's also one of those movies where, like, I love when characters get super mad. And, like, he gets so mad. and exacts his revenge on the culprits.
Well, then you should be happy at this podcast, because I will be super mad. Actually, I won't be super mad. Big Trouble in Little China is my number 3.
Nice. What can you say? It's great. See
Yeah,
our previous episode.
Nominated by Nate. Spoiler alert. It's one of the greatest films ever made.
Yeah, and
it's also one of the most overlooked films, I feel like. Maybe not now.
By the Academy Awards.
Well, that's every film. Well, not every film, but unless your film is like indie or like, you know.
And it was very clever to have him basically play the sidekick in his own movie, but he doesn't know it. Like, it's just such a funny character.
It's kind of like, it's like if you took like his character from Tango and Cash, but he wasn't one of the leads. He was like, he is one of the leads, and that's why people go see it. But then, like, if you're smart, you figure out, like, he should not even be on the poster. He sucks.
Yeah.
But that's what makes it great. It's like, you know.
He's literally hurting the team with everything he does.
Yeah.
Not helping at all.
But he's so, like, yeah. He's like, have you ever seen the cartoon Johnny Bravo back in the day?
I never watched that.
Okay. Where it's like a guy that, like, thinks he's, like, hot shit, like Duke Nukem style. But, like, everybody around him is like, dude, you're an idiot. Or, like, you're a pervert. You know what I mean? Like, he thinks he's, like, you know, God's gift to women.
That's funny.
So, yeah. What's your number 2?
Number 2 is Tango and Cash.
Nice.
So good, man.
You couldn't bring up Tango and Cash. Yeah, we already talked about it, but I'll just add that, like...
And they go to a strip club where the stripper also does a drum solo in the middle of her routine. Like,
what is it?
Didn't know I needed to see that.
Isn't Terry Hatcher in that film? Yeah, she plays Sylvester Stallone's sister, right? Mm-hmm. And Kurt Russell starts to, like, fall for her, and then, like, Sylvester Stallone, like, flips out about it or something.
Pee-wee?
Yeah. But, who's the bad guy? It's the guy that he plays the guy that's in the original Batman that, like, Jack Nicholson kills.
Mm-hmm. Jack Palance. Also from City Slickers 1 and 2.
Yes. I've actually never seen City Slickers 1 all the way through, but I've seen City Slickers 2, like, 100 times.
Really?
Yeah.
I've only seen the first one.
Really?
I've never seen 2. The Legend of Curly's Gold.
We'll have to compare our notes. I love the second one.
Really?
Yeah. It's funny because they set it up for like a third one, like that was ever going to happen.
Time for a legacy sequel.
That's true. Bring back...
Jack Palance has been super dead for 30 years.
He was like super dead in that film.
Yeah, I know.
He died like once already.
Yeah.
Brought him back. It's like, it's his twin. It's like, what? Anyway, so, wait, what were we
Number 2?
About? Oh, number 2, sorry.
For you?
The Thing. You're probably shocked that that one's going to be above this.
I am. I thought that'd be your number 1.
Number 1.
What could it be?
Well, you know, we haven't talked about The Thing extensively on the podcast, but we will eventually. That's something that we're going to talk about and do like an episode on.
Thing Week.
We have like, I think, a special guest in mind that we're going to like have on. But until then, all I can say is... You know, I don't know what we could say. We've already haven't said.
This has already been on other top 5 lists.
Yeah, yeah. If that goes to show how much we love this film. Mm-hmm. So yeah, good stuff, man. What do you have any honorable mentions?
My honorable mentions, like I have ones from your list: Tombstone, Big Trouble in Little China, The Thing. Then I had Vanilla Sky, which I'm scared to go back and rewatch because I think I might hate it.
That was actually on my movies I liked him in, but I don't remember liking the film.
Yeah. Executive Decision.
I have that on movies
teamed up
I
with,
liked him
Seagal.
in, but didn't really like the film. But I haven't gone back and watched it again.
Yeah.
So it might flip to my other list. But I remember watching it and being like, I'm not really sure if I like this film or not. That's all I have in my mind.
I think you'd like it.
Maybe if I go back and watch it, I like it more. But
it's an action thriller.
Yeah.
And then Unlawful Entry, which I think we watched together, but that's Ray Liotta like plays a really scary bad guy in that and kind of steals the show.
Shocking. Ray Liotta is awesome. Rest in peace.
Yep.
He.
And then my last honorable mention is Dark Blue, which I think is probably Kurt Russell's like finest acting.
I've heard of that before, but I can't remember.
It's really good.
What that happens.
I think it'd be good for the podcast, but basically he plays like a corrupt and dirty LA cop. Like during the time of the Rodney King riots.
Oh,
and it's basically him coming to terms with like his own monstrosity, basically.
Like what he's done.
Yeah. It's really good.
Yeah, it's your honorable mentions.
Yep.
I have 3,000 Miles to Graceland.
That movie sucks. I remember
it's
highly entertaining, but it's like so bad.
I remember liking it a lot because
Yeah.
we have it on DVD, but I've only seen it the one time. So
any movie that starts with CGI scorpions, metal scorpions fighting each other for no reason.
CGI hamsters or whatever, Indiana Jones Crystal Skulls. Oh, they're like ball with the ball, dang to dang.
Steven Spielberg giving a middle finger to the audience.
He's like
the first shot.
Real quick, speaking of that, I was cracking up because I saw this video the other day somebody made of like Harrison Ford where he was like, yeah, fucking whatever, who gives a shit, Han Solo's dead, fuck him. And then like he's on stage like just the other day at the Disney Expo crying about Indiana Jones, and he's like, I'm just so happy that everybody loves his character. It's like, dude, it's the same fucking character. Anyway, so
would you ever play Han Solo again? In a New York Mini.
Yeah.
It's like,
Sky High.
I don't think I've ever seen that all the way through. I need to sit down and watch that.
I like it.
Yeah.
Stargate. That could be in ones where I like him in it, but the film's kind of... and Captain Ron.
Captain Ron, that's a good one.
Nobody knows. We quote that like all the time, but we've never...
It's just so funny.
Yeah. It's essentially him as like a comedic Snake Plissken.
Yeah.
So, good stuff. What's your number one?
Escape from New York.
That's my number one.
Wow.
Escape from New York.
Even over The Thing. I'm surprised.
Escape from New York. You know why that is because he's great in The Thing.
It's more of an ensemble.
He's not it's an ensemble. Yeah. I don't know if I would say it's a better movie, but I'd say that like it's a different movie. But Escape from New York is essentially, it's funny because Escape from New York / LA is like Evil Dead 1/2. Where like
they basically remade the first one.
Yeah. So but the character Snake Plissken, he's so iconic. I mean, they based fucking Solid Snake after that character. Like an entire video game series is like based on this character essentially, and many other characters have been ripped off of him in ways, not ripped off, paid homage to and stuff. But Escape from New York, LA, any of the expanded stuff is awesome. Well, it's not awesome, but like Escape from New York is essentially like legit.
Yeah, it's one of my top 5 movies.
Still waiting on Escape from Earth.
No, they already made it with Guy Pearce.
That's true, yeah. I remember I saw that in theaters with Neil because he was like, let's go see this new movie like after work. And I was like...
It was pretty good. But...
Okay, and then I was watching it and I was like, is this fucking Escape from New York in space? What the fuck?
Did you know John Carpenter sued and won?
That doesn't shock me at all because I was watching it and was like, I don't know if there's like anything you could really do about this, but it just seemed so similar. Like the whole thing was like...
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was entertaining. It was just kind of, it felt very like, I was like, this is like Snake Plissken, essentially. Like,
yeah, going back to Escape from New York, like a few years ago at work, like
I escaped.
I escaped from work.
And I haven't gone back.
We called in some pizzas at lunch and like watched 45 minutes of Escape from New York, like in a conference room with a bunch of like dudes who'd never seen it before, guys who were a lot younger than us. And they turned into like teenage girls. They were like, oh, this is so cool. Like Kurt Russell's just so cool in that movie.
Yeah.
It's like they've kidnapped the president. President of what?
Yeah, it's like
every line is a killer.
Well, it's also like there's so much that's like left unsaid in that. It's like you're under the assumption that like in the world in general shit has gone almost Terminator style because there's like they've turned New York into like a fucking prison state essentially. So that's how ridiculously bad, because there's some illusion in deleted scenes that like Kurt Russell was in like the Alaskan World Wars or something like that. So there's all this like ridiculous shit that happened on Earth. So him saying the president of what it could be very valid, but we know that like he's essentially telling him to fuck off. Like,
There's also an interesting deleted scene that was supposed to be like the first scene in the movie where basically he gets arrested.
Yeah, because he like
so interesting.
A robbery goes wrong or something. Like he's part of like a crew that it kind of sets up also like later on in the film when he meets up again with like Maggie and like the brain or whatever and stuff, because they were supposed to be part of like his crew at one point and shit. And it's like there's all this like hinted to and alluded to stuff with deleted scenes and expanded material for the character.
But that was such a good choice to delete that scene.
Yeah,
you know, like it's so
like it's cool stuff to hear about and stuff. But it's like that's the kind of stuff that should be deleted but put on the DVD so people can fill it in if they want to go in. It's to me, it's like it'd be better to cut stuff out and then have people go in and be like, oh, so this is part of the film and the lore, and it's right. Like canon and stuff, but it's stuff that we can watch later in our own time rather than bogging down the film with like unneeded dog shit. Because most of the audience would be like, okay, what the fuck? Like you said, it just makes it more mysterious for the character too. So
nice, man. I didn't know you were so high on Escape from New York.
Yeah. Woo! Smoking they do, baby. Yeah, like I mean, I don't know. It's hard. If I could, I would do a podcast every week about like
Escape from New York.
I don't know like how long that would last, but about John Carpenter, George Romero films, like those kinds of films, because they have that feel to them. But sadly, we only have a couple.
Bruiser's coming up, dude, sooner than you think.
Oh shit!
That's not a threat. That's a promise.
Could be both.
Be careful what you wish for. Bruiser cast.
I'm like, all this guy, please save me. Yeah. So great film, great character, great actor, great job.
Plus, Donald Pleasance as the president of the United States.
Donald Pleasance.
You're the Duke. You're the Duke.
Isaac Hayes.
Truck Turner.
Who else is in the? He turned me out. Or wait, that's fucking
Action Jackson.
Turn you out. It's like Jesus. Turn me out. I was like, what's that mean? And I like looked it up and I was like,
see our previous episode on Action Jackson, aka the movie where he drives a car into a house and through the hallways.
Michelangelo style. Drives a fucking car down a flight of stairs in the cartoon, and I was like, this is so stupid. Until I saw Action Jackson and was like,
they did it for real.
This is fucking stupid, but it's also cool because it's like, there's a fucking way. The stairs would be like, see you later, bitch. Also, he makes like a 90-degree turn
in a hallway.
Yeah.
Like, how wide is this sucker?
But that's another one. Craig T. Nelson is
he's
badass.
great at that.
Yeah. He turns into like a fucking kung fu master at the end somehow. But,
how do you like your ribs?
Yeah. Yeah. Great film. So anyway, I don't know. Do you have anything else to say for?
No, I think
Russell?
we covered it. We were a little bit all over the place, but it was fun.
As usual, we're big Kurt Russell fans. I'm sure people probably know that by now, especially after watching this episode. But I'm sure many more of his films will show up on this podcast.
Yep.
Through the years.
For a long time, I would say he was my favorite actor.
Do you have like a new favorite?
Nick
actor?
Cage has eclipsed him, but they're both great.
I don't know if I have a favorite actor anymore, honestly. I'm trying to think. Top 5 favorite actors.
You like Tim Matheson because he looks like Paul Rudd.
I'm like, even though I hate Paul Rudd. Like, wait, what? No, I don't hate Paul Rudd.
No one hates Paul Rudd.
That's true.
Except me when he was in Ghostbusters. I was like, boo!
I thought he was fine in that movie.
He was.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'll have to get back to you on that one.
All right.
So
have it on my desk by Monday morning.
I will. So you ready for the feature presentation?
I hope so.
I hope so. I guess you should be. If you
had a whole week to prepare.
I don't have any fucking notes. So what is this week?
Steamboat Bill Jr.
I don't know why I asked you that.
From 1928,
that earlier.
Starring Buster Keaton.
Yeah.
This is our oldest movie we've ever covered. Almost 100 years at this point.
I'm going to find the Ben Franklin one. We're going to watch that. The Frankenstein, the oldest film ever. It has no sound at all. It's like, cool. But this is released by United Artists. It's like the final product that he did with his like independent team, I guess. Mm-hmm. There was kind of like a lot of stuff that went down with, like, I read where it was like he left them and then went to MGM, which I guess he was like, dude, this is going to be like great. And they were essentially like, fuck you, you're going to do it how we want. And then he was kind of like, I don't know, essentially robbed of his creative control. And which sucked.
Yeah, it's a very interesting story, but like basically during the 20s, like his movies, like he made classic after classic, like they're all amazing, and I think this is one of the best, if not the best. But then like that change of studios, where he started to lose control, plus like the rise of sound films, really weren't suited for him because like he has a really weird scraggly voice,
does he?
And like he wasn't considered like, you know, appealing anymore.
Yeah,
and the rest of his life was kind of like a downward spiral. It's kind of a sad story, but at least he made these amazing movies.
Yeah, it is really weird, like hearing about especially like, I guess you never really think about it, but like the transition from like, it's essentially changing, like it's essentially going from like drawing to fucking painting or something, because it's like, or just from one medium to the next, because he had to make the fucking film with no sound. So it's like, you know, imagine if we had to make this podcast and you couldn't hear us. Well, like, it's, since we have video, that's all we'd be able to do. So essentially, we'd have to fucking, you know, do gags and some other shit, because otherwise we'd be fucked. So like, for him, it's like he had to do all this outlandish stuff, but then, like you said, as soon as sound came in, you really didn't have to do that anymore. So it was like, you could, but it wasn't as required.
Yep.
So you could do, I guess it's not less effort, but it is to a degree, you know what I mean?
It just changed the game.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah. But, yeah. I guess that sucks.
Yeah.
But, like you said, I mean, he made these
like he made films. At least like probably 10 or 12 features before that they're all really, really good to amazing.
Yeah.
In my opinion. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, it's weird, like, watching a film that has no sound. You know what I mean? It's, if you've never done it before, because this isn't the first one I've ever watched. We watched, what was the other one that he did?
The General?
Yeah, The General, where he's on the train. You showed that to me, like, a while back. But if you've never seen one, like, you don't really know. It's definitely like a different experience, because like in movies you can just watch or like look away for a second and like, you know, you can still hear stuff going on, but in this it's like the only thing you hear is like whatever music they just decide to accompany the motion picture with. And every once in a while you'll get like a card that says what they're saying. Sometimes you can make out what they're saying with their lips, but most times not. So it's definitely like different, because we grew up with sound pictures, obviously. But yeah. So like, what's your history with like Buster Keaton? You're like, well, I grew up with him.
I mean, it was passed down through the generations. Like my grandpa and my dad were like huge movie fans, and some of their favorite movies were like the comedies of this era, like the 20s and 30s. So you know, basically, I grew up watching these movies. So, yeah, have a lot of history with them. How about you?
I never heard or really watched any of this stuff. Well, I'd heard, I think, of Buster Keaton and like more so Charlie Chaplin before I'd seen The General that you showed me, but I'd never seen any of these films. Yeah. I probably never would have watched one if you hadn't like shown it to me. Just because, I don't know why.
I hope you're glad you did.
It's definitely different from going from like color to black and white, because it's like with that it's just you don't have any color, you still have audio like for talking, whereas like going from like any kind of talking picture to like nothing like that is definitely different.
I was like,
you dropped a bomb on me. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely like a film that like, I'd say if you haven't watched one of these films, I would say if you have the time, at least watch it. Watch one of them. You know, a Buster Keaton film. What would you suggest? Would it be this or The General? Or, I think a lot of people say that like The General is
probably the General. I think that's my favorite of his, and probably
out of the two that I've seen, I think this one had more shit that I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, The General is has a little bit more like depth to it, I would say, than this. This is like...
This is kind of a lot of like, what's it called? Like gags. And
it's just nonstop gags.
It's kind of like Three Stooges.
Yeah. And this one's probably a little bit more comedic.
But this one had like a lot of stuff that happened in it that I was like, holy shit. Like, how do they do that?
That's what I love.
But like in the general, it's more so like you said, it's more so like less like that and more so not like I was like, oh, fucking I know how he did that shit. But like it, you know, this was more so like all kinds of shit happens in the last little bit of the movie that's like, damn.
Yeah. This is one thing I like about movies too, is it's basically like a time capsule to 100 years ago to see what things were like.
Right.
That's really I think that in itself is cool.
Just weird because when you like watch this, it honestly doesn't look all that different. Like you think that like you would watch a movie, and they actually, it's funny, they have like footage that people have colorized from like, you know, this era and stuff like that, and people are like, they act the exact same. It's just they dress differently. Because, like, people were, like, laughing, and you think people were super prim and proper back then, but I think that was just what was conveyed in certain films because of standards. But it's like you watch this, and you're like, oh. It's the exact same shit, just they didn't have AC and other things, you know?
They weren't looking at their phones.
Yeah. They were
people are people, and who made who.
That's true. It's like, actually, that's not true, but it is. Yeah, I will say this film it took me back to like when we would watch like Three Stooges stuff a lot, because it's like all this stuff was like practical. People getting hit in the head. There's a part where he fucking like falls forward with the wind, and he's like skidding on his fucking head somehow, like forward.
That was awesome.
There's no like CG or anything, so it's essentially... He had to do that somehow, even if he did it with wires or something. Like, he was still fucking smashing his fucking face on the ground.
Were you thinking of Jackie Chan at all while you were watching this movie?
There was a super impressive part, at the end, when he jumps up, like, 5 flights, and then he does it again. And I'm like, dude, this guy is ripped.
Yeah, he's amazing.
There's a part where he, like, is going across a wire, and it's like, he's, like, faster than I've ever seen somebody. I was like, Jackie Chan style. I was like...
Yeah, you can definitely see the influence on Jackie.
But it's like one of those things where like he's not... It's funny because if he was born now and he wanted to do action films, he would probably be like one of the biggest stars of all time.
Yeah.
But
he'd be like Tom Cruise.
He did comedies and he was able to like... Essentially, he didn't like ever show off. He always, like, at least for me, the 2 films I've seen, he's always like the idiot to a degree, but he ends up saving the day, but he comes off kind of like, you know...
He's the butt of the joke in a lot of situations.
But it's like he decided to do it like that. And it's just like, that takes like, I don't know, a certain kind of person to like poke fun at themselves. And for it to all like turn out okay in the end and like, I don't know.
But also it's the way he does it, like the great stone face or whatever. Like that like non-reacting is what makes it so funny.
The stone face.
Yeah.
He's like,
could be.
Nice cannabis. Yeah. So Joseph Frank Buster Keaton, he was born in October 4th, 1895. That's like so long ago, or it seems so long ago. And then he passed away on February 1st, 1966. So like way before we were born.
But only after making a final appearance in It's a Mad, 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 Mad World.
I love that film. I haven't seen it in a long time, but did you ever
see
Three
Stooges?
Did you ever see like the sequel? Or not the sequel, the remake?
Oh, Rat Race?
Yeah.
I did.
I thought there was some pretty funny parts in that.
You're like the sequel. It's a Mad, 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 Mad World.
You looked at me and I was like, wait.
I was like, how do I not know there's a sequel?
But he was best known for his silent film work, in which his trademark was physical comedy, accompanied by a stoic, deadpan expression that earned him the nickname "The Great Stone Face." Critic Roger Ebert wrote of Keaton's extraordinary period from 1920 to 1929, when he worked without interruption, as having made him the greatest actor director in the history of the movies.
Wow, strong words.
Yeah, and
from a strong man.
he's like, yeah. Ebert's like rips off his clothes and he's like, "Let me tell you something, gangster." Gangster, dude. You want to fuck with me, Siskel? In 1996, Entertainment Weekly recognized Keaton as the 7th greatest film director, and in 1999, the American Film Institute ranked him as the 21st greatest male star of classic Hollywood cinema.
Wow. Some high honors.
Yeah. I wonder, like, when they say classic Hollywood cinema, like, what's the... That's like, it could be anything
pre-60s? I don't know.
Just to me, if you're like, 20 to 30, like, he's got to be number one. Like, who the fuck would be higher than him if you're just doing by, like, years?
Yeah.
Who's higher than him? Snoop Dogg. I don't know what this note is about. For some reason, thought it was completely silent with no music. I thought this note said for some reason it was completely silent with no music, and I was like, yeah, no, it wasn't.
It could have been if you turned the sound off.
That's true. I just turned the movie off completely.
You have some dude playing piano for you?
Yeah. Speaking of which, like, I have to preface this. If you're going to watch this film, watch the fucking, like, what version is it? The Vino or whatever the fuck version? Not Vino.
Kino?
Kino. Vino! Watch the Kino version, because the one that was on Amazon sucks.
Oh, that's a bummer.
I watched pretty much the whole film, and then, like, I had to go do something, came back, and, like, I was like, I wonder if, like, there's another version on, like, another thing, and there's a free version on YouTube that's the Kino rip, and it's black and white, and it's, like, essentially crystal clear, while, like, the one on Amazon is this, like, yellowish,
oh, that sucks,
version.
Man.
Yeah. So most of it I watched in a certain way, but I got the gist of it. I wasn't like, I can't see shit. But it's also like, I don't know what kind of music was with the yellow one versus the Kino, or the Kino one, because there are different accompaniments with this kind of stuff. Like, even in sound pictures like Dracula, they do that, where they'll have different accompaniments. So I
think that's pretty cool. Like, anytime they re-release it, someone will write a new
they're like
soundtrack, basically.
Fucking the general. Ball with the ball. It's like, huh? They're like, dun, 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 dun.
That could have worked.
Yeah. They wouldn't have got sued.
You know what I would have said?
What?
Ah, nice music.
I'm like, nice yellow tent to a fucking movie for no reason. It's like, cool. So if anything comes up that I talk about music-wise and you're just like, what the fuck is he talking about? That's why. So, with that out of the way, dude is giving a speech, but no sound. Very interesting to see, because he's like talking to the crowd, and it pans over, and they're like, woo! And he's like doing some shit.
I love the opening shot of this movie. It's like very idyllic. Like, you see a river with like some people fishing in it.
Yeah.
And it pans over to like the huge river and like Steamboat in the town. It's like, this is more exciting than like a CGI landscape.
I would agree, I guess.
It's cool to see.
No, yeah, it's just funny because it's like to see people randomly fishing, because like, unless you're like in a very remote part, they'd be like, what the fuck are you doing fishing there? They'd be like, no fishing. Or well, especially if it was like Mississippi River now, probably wouldn't want to be fishing in it, or the Ohio River.
Yeah. Pull
up like a fucking 10-headed gorgon or something.
A boot.
I'm like, let's see.
So what were your general thoughts? Like, did you enjoy this movie?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, see you next time.
Fuck in-depth analysis. Yeah, I mean, it was, like I said, it's definitely different, because it's like, since there's no speech, it's like, it's definitely like something you have to pay like super close attention to, or you're gonna miss something. But at the same time, like, it's weird watching a film that's only like an hour and 10 minutes. It's usually like
wish all movies were that long. Most movies shouldn't be longer than that.
Yeah, this movie my only complaint is like you said, since it's not super tight, in certain times that kind of felt long to me, being 110 minutes, but only because it was like from one gag to the next, instead of like the general where it felt more tight, and it was like more, what's it called, like it wasn't just one thing to the next, but like the stuff that happened was like interesting and like fun.
Yeah, it's more a series of comedic episodes.
Right.
I love his character in this, though.
Yeah,
like it's such a funny character because he's basically like a fancy lad.
He's kind of like the generic like college character that like comes home, like his like, or not home, but he comes to like see his dad, and like he's essentially like super like, I guess he's like educated and stuff, but his dad's
he's into the creative arts.
His dad's like his dad's a creative master. His dad's like a grizzled like a Popeye essentially. He's like, but he's on like the Mississippi River. They're shitting all over like the Steamboat Bill's boat. Like they're like, fuck this, you know, this thing sucks. It's gonna sink. But it doesn't.
It's King's boat that sinks.
Yeah, King's boat. I'll run on this river if I'm the only passenger on the boat. A lot of these, I wrote down a lot of these because like there was only a couple of these that they actually show on screen that are like, what the fuck was that? That are, you would see this sometimes in like old cartoons too, where they would like show up a piece, like a thing that would like, you know, we'd be talking and it'd be like, you know, I can't believe what I just witnessed, and then it would say like Mike. And like, that's the person that said it, kind of thing.
Yep.
They also do the thing where they're like, oh, I got a letter, and they hold it up, and like it zooms in so the audience can read it for like an exorbitant amount of time, because otherwise, like, since there's no audio, you know, he can't read it out. It's from my Willie. I haven't seen him since he was a baby. And I was like, man, that's a long time to go without seeing your dick. But he was talking about his kid. Because his kid's name is Willie. But they call him, I guess that must mean his name is Willie and his son's name is Willie Jr. because they go with the Steamboat Bill thing. And they have the whole like Romeo and Juliet thing here where like King's daughter and Steamboat Bill's son essentially knew each other, it seemed like, from school or something, and they meet up again and they're like love each other or something.
But they introduce his character as literally on the wrong side of the tracks,
right?
Like to show you instead of telling you like what the situation is, which I thought was very clever.
Are Buster Keaton and like Michael Keaton related at all?
Yeah, it's his dad.
Is it?
I don't know.
You don't know? I thought you were a Buster Keaton fan.
I did start reading his autobiography, and it's one
What's
of those.
What's it called?
It's called Buster.
Nice.
It's
got no audio.
There's got no words on the page. I'm like, eh?
But only audio? He's like, I finally figured out audio.
But I think like back in the day, and especially people like him would like tell tall tales about their life that like aren't true.
Oh, Buster Keaton.
He's like, when I was a baby, a tornado hit our house and carried me 100 miles.
He's like Carrie Knowles.
Yeah. Leatherface showed up at my birthday party.
Buster Keaton's like, when I was a child, Linkin Park showed up to my birthday party.
You're all about the new metal.
Hell yeah, I guess so. Any of you boys looking for a father? That part had me cracking.
Dude, that's a great
I
line.
was like, what? He just like, so the whole thing is like, the gag is like, he sends him a note and he's like, hey, I'm going to be the one wearing the carnation. And then when they get there, there's like 20 people, like guys, that could be his son's age that are wearing carnations. And he goes up to all of them and he's just like, looking at them. They have like a pretty funny gag where like there's the first guy he sees, he's like, oh, it's got to be him. And then he stands up and it's like a black guy and he's just like, oh, wait a minute. And he's like also like super tall. And there's a dude, and then when Buster Keaton shows up, he's going up to everybody and he's like, like showing his fucking flower off, and everyone's just like, eh. And this one guy's like, get the fuck out of here. He like pushes him away because fucking, and then one guy like takes it. It's just like, but he just keeps going like that, and I was just like cracking up. But they do the thing where he literally just kept missing his dad by like a little bit.
It did crack me up how they are starting to figure out that it's like he's the guy, and he's like prancing around with the ukulele.
Because he's like he sits on a fat baby, and then he makes it cry, and then he like has to make it like happy again, and he starts like fucking little Lord Fauntleroy.
Yeah, exactly.
And then like I guess he's about to like his friend or whatever,
the first mate,
and he's like, if you say what you're thinking, I'll strangle you. I was like, Jesus! Tony Soprano over here. And he's got this weird mustache. He's dressed like a French Gomez. Because he's got like a striped shirt as well. And it's like, good lord. But yeah, this he shows up in this like attire where it's like, he's got like the beret, like a bow tie, like a cardigan sweater, a striped like blazer, like a John Waters Gomez mustache, and like yeah, I was just like, oh, and his dad's like, shit.
Yeah, good stuff.
And then like there's a part I didn't understand where like a dude kept trying to put Steamboat's son, like him in the back of a car, and like take him with him. Did he? I guess he mistook him for someone else, but like he kept trying to like put him in the back of the bus, and I was like, and he kept pulling him out. And he's like, "No, he's with me," and I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
I must have missed like the gag or something. I was gonna say, with silent films being such a visual medium, how did Buster Keaton do after voice pictures? I guess we kind of already covered that. He did.
Yeah, if you ever heard him talk, like he has a very distinct voice.
Did he make any films?
Oh yeah. He made movies up until like his last days.
Till last year.
Yeah, until yesterday.
CG Buster Keaton. Why haven't they done yet?
They should.
Or that not yet. Why haven't they done yet?
They did. He was in the Rogue One as Tarkin.
He's like,
his voice kind of sounds like this. He has a raspy voice.
so he sounds like an old man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Probably because he smoked 1 million cigarettes.
Yeah.
And like drank tons of booze every day.
Jesus. Willie Canfield, what are you doing so far for Boston? My father is here. So is mine, and you'll love him. I'm like, that's Romeo and Juliet.
Exactly.
He got rid of that stupid beret and mustache. Somewhere.
So I love the hat
Steven
scene.
Seagal is pissed.
Nice.
Yeah, I have here hat fashion show. I sadly didn't write down all the hats, but from what I can remember, the first one I think he puts on is like a Rangers hat. Not like the baseball team, but like a
Texas Ranger.
And what else? He had like this cool corn hat. Trying to think what else.
Well, I love that whole scene is worthwhile for the joke where he puts on like his trademark pork pie hat and he's like, like get it out of here. Yeah. It's like a meta joke.
Yeah.
I love that.
Is that like a Laurel and Hardy hat, like right? Like where is that where they got it from?
Well, Laurel and Hardy are more like bowler hats, I think.
Oh. Yeah, it looked exactly the same. I was like,
yeah,
damn.
But I thought that was a hilarious joke, and it's a fun scene.
What is what's his name? I can't remember his name. The guy Robert Downey Jr. played.
Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah, what's his like hat?
The bowler, I think.
Looks super similar. They should have been Mario and Luigi for Halloween. Let's see. Yeah, it's like there's also it's like he finally buys him a new hat and then it just blows away after the fact. Is that Steamboat Bill Jr.? It's like, okay. Steamboat Bill Sr. takes his grown son by the hand, but he doesn't say he done that. Yeah, he's like, come on. They put him in some working clothes for the boat. If I find them on this boat again, I'll personally wring his neck. I'm like, Jesus!
Dude, The funniest line in this movie to me is when he shows up in like his fancy like naval gear or whatever, and the first mate gives the dad a gun, and he's like, "No jury would convict you. Like, murder your own kid because he sucks so much." So funny.
They're all about like, if anybody else is caught on this boat, my son will handle him. Show him what makes the boat go. I don't know what the fuck that means.
Have some river antics.
Yeah. I'm trying to teach you to run it, not to wreck it.
That's after he like rams the other boat, which is hilarious. Like the reactions are so funny in that.
They start chewing something. I'm assuming it's like a hunk of chewing tobacco because it's not like shredded like normally you would see. Like it's not in a pouch. They're like passing back and forth this like fucking turd.
I've seen old guys that I work with like a big wad of just raw tobacco, and it's disgusting.
Rip.
Yeah.
But of course they make the joke where like he like pats him on the back and he's like and then he's like
dies.
Yeah.
It's like R.I.P.
Like
so
when
funny.
We went up to the cabin and fucking you guys swallowed all that chewing tobacco juice and we're like puking everywhere. So in my version they play like the Sailor's Hornpipe. Better known these days as like Popeye the Sailor Man theme song. Did they play that on your version or?
I don't think so.
Maybe not.
The one I listened to was basically just an organ accompaniment.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
so it didn't really stick out to me.
They played stuff here and there, but like this was the thing that stuck out to me the most because it was like I was like, and I wrote this whole thing because I thought that maybe you heard it too, but if it wasn't on your version, I don't need to go into the history of the fucking pie pod.
Okay.
But like, I was like, it's kind of weird. Like, what the? And when I looked it up, it didn't say anything about it being in the Buster Keaton like any of his films. So I don't know if this was just added later at some point, like in a re-release version. Like
it must have been. It must have been.
Because I'm assuming the Kino version was probably more accurate to what they used in some, releases. Because like whenever they would play these, they would have some random dude, like you said, playing a piano, right? So,
yeah, I mean, honestly, the sound didn't stick out to me at all. Yeah. And that's probably good because it sounds like some stuff stuck out in your mind as like, and that shouldn't be like distracting you from the movie with like a weird soundtrack. You know what I mean?
I mean, it fit.
Okay.
But, like they weren't playing anything ridiculous. But
okay,
at the same time, it was like, it was recognizable. So it was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. I don't know why it's in a fucking 1928 picture, but, but.
What'd you think of the female lead, Marion Byron?
She had a name, but I didn't know that till now. Well, I knew that she had a name, but I didn't know who she was.
I didn't either. I had to write it down.
Like, she's my favorite actress. She was fine. I mean, nobody in this picture was bad. I thought everybody was great. I was just like, she was there to be his.
I thought she was more than just there. I thought she was very likable, and her character was funny because she was like, kind of had the girl next door quality, but also was like a little bit mischievous. She would like laugh when people would fall in the water and stuff.
Yeah.
I thought it was a cool touch. I really liked her in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really say she had really an impact on me. I thought she was fine. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm sure that, like, she is a great actress and stuff, but I didn't see that much into it. I'll pick the young man for you, and it won't be the son of a river tramp. A tramp is a homeless person who travels from place to place as a vagrant, which I guess Steamboat Bill with his boat would do. So ridiculous. Did you see?
You think he was tired of those river games?
What'd you think of the 20-foot tall dude that walked into frame at one point? He was like some fucking
like a golem.
Yeah, he was like a giant. I was like, holy shit. So I don't know why I thought this was like one of the funniest parts of the entire movie, but like both him and his dad are in night shirts.
Yeah, so old timey.
But they're like legit. It's like the kind of shit I would wear that was like my dad's shirt when I was a kid. I would wear a night shirt to bed.
Yep.
Like as a young lad.
Same. That reminds me. I just saw someone posted a hilarious post on Twitter where it was like, I'm gonna have the best night's sleep of my life, and it shows their Amazon cart and it has like a nightcap, slippers, a night shirt, and like one of those candle holders. It's so funny. Anyways, yeah, I like the the bedtime antics.
Do you sleep in a nightshirt anymore?
No, but I did when I was a little kid.
I can't remember. I think that the last time I did, when I was a kid. Like, I haven't.
But did you notice or think it was weird when, like, so he put the peanut shells down by his bed to, like, hear if someone was
they're like coconut shells.
Yeah, he's like, why'd you put those coconut shells down there?
I don't even... Yeah, I was like...
Why did he say that? Did they call them coconut shells back in the day? Or?
Yeah, I was like...
We'll have to do some research on that.
Yeah, he, like, steps on his son's Legos, essentially. And he's just like, what do you mean by throwing these coconut shells on the floor? And I was like, was that like a fuck up?
Yeah. I was like,
They throw a cat in the water, Hogan dog style. I was like, I just want to go fishing. That fucking song they play when fucking that dog's like, woo! He's trying to sneak out and he like crotches himself and then he falls 10 feet and he's like, oh, no problem. I'm like, that was my first like, okay, something's going on with this guy, like Buster Keaton wise, as far as like he's more than just like a comedy guy. Because when he fell that length and he was fine, I was like, okay. And then later on when he was like fucking jumping up flights of stairs, I was like, how?
Yeah, I mean, that's how he got his nickname Buster. Like, when he was a little kid, his parents were like...
He busted his head.
Yeah, his parents were like on vaudeville, and they would just like throw him around and stuff. Throw him downstairs for entertainment. Because he could like take it.
Like he didn't get killed.
Yep.
Dad's flipping out like, where's my son? And he's like looking for him hardcore because he finds out...
It's like, this grown man cannot be allowed to do what he wants.
Yeah. It's so weird. It's like, what? He's like, now that I've met you, you are on my property. It's like, what? Notice that this is to notify that this steamer, Stonewall Jackson, is unsafe and hereby condemned until further investigation. That's like the name of the boat that they've got. This is a part of the film where like it seemed like he was gonna like leave because he was like, damn, I'm fucking not wanted and all this shit, and then he comes back to like save the day. Third act style, baby. It's all forwards. What's with that? I thought this was kind of weird though because like he confronts like the one dude that has the other boat and he's like, are you responsible for putting this up? And he's just like, well, it ought to be condemned. The first good wind would sink it anyhow. And it's like, okay, fair enough. It's kind of just throwing insults back and forth. And then the fucking guy with like the quote unquote better boat grabs a fucking rock and is like threatening like rock violence and then throws it at him. And then the fucking cops show up and the other dude gets fucking arrested. He's like, the man not only threatened my life, but has defied the law. And I was like, except for the guy that threw the fucking rock is the person that should be going to jail. I was like,
because king is king.
Yeah. Cash is king.
Kong is king.
Cash creates controversy. Yeah, I was kind of like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and pretty much from here on out, this movie becomes amazing because like you have a hilarious jail scene, and then the storm.
Yeah. Take his ass to jail. He didn't stand and let me hit him with a fucking rock. We've got a car taking Buster Keaton's suitcase, and then later on, he's like on the car and then falls off again, and I'm like, Jesus, this guy's looking to die. King will see that he doesn't get out of here for a while, so he's like, at this point, he's in jail, like the dad's in jail, and they have this funny scene where like he's walking along and it's raining hardcore and he sinks into this like fucking hole and he goes up to his like neck. It's like the whole like, oh man, it all looks the same, and then he's like,
Yep. Great gag.
Yeah. He brings his poor father bread.
Not suspicious at all.
Yeah.
A huge loaf.
Throw both him and the bread out. Tell him I made it myself. I'll just wait around until he's famished.
I did think it was funny when he's like, when the guard isn't looking and Buster is like, that's the most emotion I've ever seen from him ever. It was interesting to see.
He's like,
He's like,
yeah. He's like fucking the kid in Back to the Future 3 or whatever. So they zoom in on a piece of paper on the wall called The Prisoner's Song. I was like, okay. And then he starts singing it, but you don't hear it. It's just like mouthed. Oh, I wish I had someone to love me, someone to call me their own. I wish I had someone to live with, because I'm tired of living alone. That's all I could see from like the thing.
Mm-hmm.
There was more, but maybe it's in the deleted scenes. Distracts the police. This was pretty clever. He distracts the police officer by making it seem like someone threw a rock in through the window or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like he did like the Eddie Guerrero where he like fucking, something happens and then he's like, what the fuck was that? Can you believe who threw this shit through the window? Yeah. And then the fucking police officer is like,
what's going on here?
Looks away, and that's when, like you said, he's like, there's fucking shit in this bread. He's like, well, I guess I better go. And he's like, I changed my mind. I want the bread. No, I don't think you do. Come on, boy. I was only fooling. I know what it is. You're ashamed of my baking. You talk to him, Sheriff. After all, the old bum is your father. And then fucking, that's when, like, the ass falls out of the...
Do you think he needed to put a whole, like, tools box worth of tools in there?
Yeah, because it falls out, and he's like, that must have happened when the dough fell into the tool chest. And I'm like, you didn't think to, like...
You're done, son.
Yeah. Also, there's a weird part where he's about, like... He's not going to give him the bread through the fucking cell for whatever reason. So he's going to completely unlock the door and let the father out. And while he's doing that, the fucking father's like fucking slapping his balls or whatever. He's like reaching for, it seems like his gun or something, but he's like, what is he doing? It's like, if I was a police officer and a prisoner started doing that, I'd be like, back the fuck up from the fucking door. What are you doing? He's like, then he tries to make a run for it and instantly is like caught. Don't let him do that to you. Willie bust him on the jaw. And then, like, he hits him, but he hits him in the stomach, and the guy's like, bong.
Yeah.
He instantly gets knocked out from just being
fatal stomach punch, like Houdini style.
Yeah, he hits him in the stomach instead of the jaw, and the guy's, like, knocked out.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, he must be, like, super powerful to knock a guy out by punching him in the stomach. This is when I switched over to the YouTube version that was on the Kino rip, and it was way better.
Yeah.
Son and dad put cop in jail and leave. Another note how much better the Kino release is. Take him down to the receiving hospital. I was like, what? I guess maybe they thought he was mentally ill or something.
I'm not sure about that one.
And then the dad like kind of goes ape shit and then locks himself back into the cell. He's like, I turned myself in.
Yep.
The pier isn't strong enough to hold the boat against the wind. So essentially at this point it becomes like I guess if it's
a hurricane.
In Mississippi, you could say it's like a tornado or, something like that.
But this is like some of the most impressive stuff I've ever seen. Like,
I don't really
like you
know
said,
how
it's
the
like,
fuck
how did they do that?
Happened? Because it's like...
You never really say that in movies anymore. This is like, how
was this like
it.
a big set or was this...
Yeah.
Like what
yeah, they built all this stuff.
Because it looked like a legit town.
Yeah.
I was shocked.
It was awesome.
They had like... at first I put a thing that said wind strong enough to push car but not person, but then I was like, wait, they probably just pulled it with a fucking rope or something. But then stuff really starts to go out of control where like a front of a building actually falls off, and that's when I was like, what the fuck? Because I thought that it was just going to be like stuff blowing around here and there, but literally like the town starts to fucking get ripped apart.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when I was like, okay, holy shit, dude, like they put in the man hours here for this.
And he put his life on the line. Like, I think most people have seen that iconic image when the front of the house falls on him and he goes through the window. Like, that's what movies are all about, man. It's awesome.
He's like, fucking kill me.
And then Johnny Knoxville did the same thing, and the thing actually like crunched him. You remember that?
Yeah. And now he's dead.
R.I.P.
Yeah. Roof rips off to show Buster Keaton in hospital. He runs off, almost gets killed by collapsing building, runs back into bed, and the bed rolls into a barn and out the other end. Guy jumps onto bed and it flies away, And this is when, like, the fucking front of the building, like, falls, and it, like, barely doesn't kill him. And, like, I don't know if this is true. I saw this on my IMDb, but apparently, like, a ton of people left the set because they were like, I don't want to see this shit, and I don't want to be, like, responsible for... But, like, Buster Keaton was, like, he had just heard that, like, this was his last hurrah as far as with his independent stuff, and he's like, I don't give a fuck if I die. And I was like, I don't know if that's true, but it might have been. I don't know. It's just you never know with IMDb trivia. If it was in one of those like books, like that like Buster Keaton trivia or like a book he wrote himself, I'd probably believe it more. But like you never know. But these kinds of films might be more factual because it's not as fantastic,
Yeah, I would not be surprised if that's true.
Leaning at a 90-degree angle, or wait. Probably like 60. 90, he'd be like laying on the ground.
Yeah.
Never mind. But he's doing like the Michael Jackson leaning.
Right.
Yeah. It's like I say all this stuff, but it's like obviously all these people got this shit from Buster Keaton, not the other way around.
He was ripping off the king of pop.
He's like, whoa! Dun, 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 dun.
You've been caught by a smooth Buster.
He's like, next to a dummy, and it moves. He's like, fuck! It's like one of those, like...
Dude, that was a hilarious joke. Like, ventriloquist dolls were creepy even 100 years ago.
In the middle of a storm, a dummy moves, and he's like...
Yeah. That was funny.
It's a cool sleight of movement at the end as far as, like, a house falls on him, but it's it's, like, closer to us, and it, like, cups over, and it lands on him.
Yeah.
And, like, then he just walks out the front door. It's like, dude. I'm like, you guys are going to drop a model on me, and I'm just going to walk out the front door. Some awesome sight gags. Like, and then he gets, like, electrocuted. It's like, no big deal. This was one of the... I mean, this is all impressive, but this is one of the things that kind of stood out to me. He grabs onto this tree, and it uproots and starts flying. And it's obviously being held up out of frame at the top by like a crane or something, but he was fucking actually doing that, like holding there, and you can tell because he's like looking around like
hope I don't die.
Yeah. And eventually they land it in the water, and when it lands he kind of just like falls off of it, like he's holding on, but it's like the shock of it kind of, and it's like that's a one take kind of thing, like they got it, but like I was like, holy fuck, like
yeah, that reminded me of a Jackie Chan style stunt where like it's life or death, do or die.
Yeah. But I'd say like you have to watch this film just for this whole ending part. I mean, the film is great itself, but like this end part is like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's awesome.
And then we've got this is when it starts to get really like what's it called? Like before it's like comedy, but now it starts to get like holy shit, like, stuff's fucking serious.
Yeah, I mean,
dad's in jail. It goes into the water, and he's like slowly drowning.
The building's floating down the river.
And his like girlfriend is fucking on a house also that's like being swept away, and he fucking saves the day. Like he fucking puts an anchor on the house and like goes and gets her and comes back, and then like the dad, he like plows through the thing and saves him, and it's like, dude, this guy turned into like a fucking badass.
Yeah, I love how he rigs up a bunch of ropes to basically turn the boat into something that he can pilot like by himself.
Yeah. And he actually like went across the rope holding someone. It wasn't. It was like, okay,
she was like strangling him.
That's when I was like, okay, this is when I was really starting to be like, holy shit, this guy's like ridiculous. But then like when he jumped down 4 flights and then went back up, I was like, okay, this guy's like fucking Jackie Chan. Like what the fuck?
That's awesome.
Yeah. This ending was a freaking action movie.
Yeah, I mean that's why I love this movie, because it has all the stuff I like comedy, action, stunts, and very, like clever sight gags. Like it doesn't get much better than that in my book.
What's that book called?
The Book of Matt. And then the final shot. There's always
Matt
like
Bible.
There's Matt Week. What'd you think of the final gag?
He's like, gulp.
He's like, it's my final gag. Ah.
His dad's like, gulp. He's like, ah. That was the end. You mean where they think that like he's gonna like. So they save like the father. So it's like they've got like, his dad, her dad, and him are all there, and he looks around. He's like, you think that he's gonna like he jumps in the water, and you think he's gonna like swim away, and then he like. They're like, what the fuck? No, like, why are you leaving? And, like, they pan over, and he's got, like, a life preserver on, like, the priest or whatever. And the priest is like, is that what you're talking about? Yeah.
Hilarious.
So it's, like, the end gag is that, like, he wasn't really running away. He was, like, saving someone else. Yep. So, yeah.
He always has, like, a good final gag. My favorite one, I forget which movie it is, but, like, he falls off a cliff or something. and like, he like falls so hard he like gets buried through the earth, and he comes up and he has like a Chinese family. Like so he went all the way to China and like had a family and then came up through the hole.
He's like, I had a family.
It's like, well, you went through the center of the earth, the molten core.
Yeah, nice. And lived. And you were also able to make an entire family. He's like, I made a family. I'm warning you. Yeah, I think we pretty much covered that. I'm trying to think what else. Actually, are there any special features on that Kino release that you watched?
I'm not sure.
To really add for.
I don't remember
anything interesting in that book you've read so far.
No, I stopped reading the book after. I mean, I'll pick it up again at some point.
He's like, "Fuck you."
I was like, the dude's just making stuff up at this point.
He's like, one time I fought 12 bears at once.
But if you like this movie, like. All the ones he made in the 20s, I think, are just about as good as this one. So there's a lot of gold out there.
Do you have like a least favorite one you've seen of his? Like as far as like, or they're all pretty good.
Yeah, like after this, it's like diminishing returns.
As far as like audio goes, like or not.
Just
but like once he went into the audio, it was kind of good. I'd be interested to see like. As far as his audio pictures, like which one people consider the best, because like you were saying, like they were saying online, once that happened, things kind of went downhill, So I don't know. I didn't even know that he did any pictures once. I was under the impression that like probably because of like stuff that's been on TV where it's like another person that's not like Buster Keaton, but they're like essentially drawing from him. Like once they went to like sound pictures, he like killed himself or something. But that's not the case at all. He lived to like, the 60s, so he wasn't, he didn't commit suicide or anything.
He did team up with Chaplin in one movie, Limelight, I think.
It was based on the Rush album,
yeah,
or the Rush song.
Like today's Tom Sawyer gets high on Buster.
He's like,
it's not a great movie, but it's cool to see the two legends.
Yeah,
and
it's kind of like
together.
Expendables.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like, what weighs more, the sound in the speakers or the fucking harpsichord in your ass? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you picked this film.
Cool. I'm glad to hear it.
I haven't seen.
It was fun.
I hadn't seen one since the General, and I don't remember really much about that other than the train.
Yep.
Where there's that thing at the end where he's like on the fucking front of it. He's like, kill me! Yeah.
Cool.
So, since it's Matt week, I'll let you go first as far as what you are going to rate this.
This movie's fine. I give it a 9. I give it a 9.95.
Nice. Perfect film.
Yep.
Nothing wrong with it.
No problems. Perfection.
Nice. Why do you give it a 9.95? I guess we already talked about. Just because it's something that you
Yeah, I mean, this is what I like movies for, is because of movies like this. So
nice, man.
How about you?
I'm like, I give it a 1. No, I'm just kidding. No way in hell. I'd probably give it like a. If there was like a thing between like a 7 and an 8, probably like a. I don't know. Werewolf. Yeah, I give it like a 7.95 or an 8.95. The middle of that, like 7.5, or I guess that would be like an 8.45.
Nothing in the rule book that says you can't do that.
I'm making the rules. Yeah, in between there. Good film. Great film.
Cool.
I would say you definitely should watch it. For me, it's like not something I would watch all the time. I know you're probably like different. Like it was definitely like something to get over not having like like audio as far as like speech, but like the gags and everything else make up for it. So
yeah.
I guess if it didn't, like, what would fucking be the point? Like, if a movie literally had no good qualities visually, and it was silent, it'd be like, this is dog shit. Okay, so speaking of, well, not dog shit, but speaking of another thing that you picked, you get Weird Watches again next week.
All right. We'll go with The Norm Show.
Ah. That's like the show Norm Macdonald had, right? Like,
yeah.
For a bit. I've seen clips from this show, but I've never like watched a full episode. I don't think.
Me neither.
This will be the last episode we do before we go into our October spooktacular.
Nice.
So, are you excited?
Yeah, should be fun.
So, we're gonna pick the last one here. Will be like a buddy pick.
All right.
Until we get into our October plans, when there are no buddy picks for a month. But there will be booty picks. Or wait, no, there won't be. There'll be scary films. That sounds weird. Okay, so look away. Pick a number. 8 through 16.
Let's go 14.
Okay. Well, next week we are watching a film nominated by Ryan Munich, a friend of ours, called Robo-Jocks. I've never watched this movie. Have you?
Oh, yeah.
Have you?
Yeah.
I've never heard of it before. Until he nominated it like a year ago.
We're in for a treat.
I'm not sure if you're serious or not.
Well, you'll find out.
Cool. So, do you have anything else to say about this week before I wrap it up here?
Nope. I think we covered it.
Yeah, I think we did too, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for picking this film, and
it was fun.
It'll be interesting to see next week with a Norm Show and Robo-Jocks. What a combo! So, I guess until next time, catch us on all of our social medias. Steak Belmont 64 on everything: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Twitch. And every Tuesday, these will be up. We're going to have it on YouTube. So, as usual, I'm going to give you the last word, especially on that week. Come up with something good. I want to hear your thoughts.
All right. Here I go.
Go for it.
Bye.